The ship's docking bay hissed open with a sharp burst of steam. Commander Zarek Vox stepped out, helmet under one arm, his dark uniform scorched from heat and dust. He had just returned from Earth. What was left of it? His boots echoed on the metal floor of the Dominion Alliance warship Blade of Truth. Around him, alien soldiers paused their work to stare. Some looked curious. Others smirked. Zarek was the last human alive. Not just on the ship, anywhere. He walked straight to the command chamber. The doors slid open, revealing a circle of high-ranking officers from different alien species, tall, scaled Zarnok, glass-skinned Varelians, and cold-eyed synths. At the center stood Captain Vetrax Quan, arms crossed, waiting. "You were gone longer than permitted," Vetrax said sharply. His voice buzzed with irritation. "I found something," Zarek replied. His voice was calm but tight. Vetrax raised a brow. "The ruins of your dead world don't concern us." "This will," Zarek said. He stepped forward and tapped his wrist console. A blurry recording appeared on the holo display. Shaky, half-lit, but clear enough. A giant shape moved across the sky, wings of light, a long tail, and glowing eyes. The shape faded just as quickly as it had appeared. The room fell silent. Zarek looked around. "That's what I saw near the old city sector." It wasn't a machine. It wasn't a storm. It was alive. Then came the laughter, loud and mocking. One of the synths shook its head. "A dragon? From human mythology?" A Varelian officer smirked. "Did it breathe fire too?" Zarek said nothing. His face didn't change. Captain Vetrax stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "You expect us to believe you saw a myth? Some phantom creature from your people's old bedtime stories?" "I'm not asking you to believe," Zarek replied. "I'm telling you what I saw." Vetrax leaned in. "Or maybe you're desperate for attention. Your kind worshipped stories. It destroyed you." Zarek stood firm. "Stories aren't always false. Some are warnings." The room grew quiet again. The officers exchanged glances, unsure how to respond. Finally, Vetrax waved a hand. "You're dismissed, Commander. Submit to a mental scan. You may be suffering from neural stress." Zarek turned without another word and walked out. The door closed behind him with a hiss. He returned to his quarters, small, cold, and isolated. No one on the Blade of Truth truly welcomed him. To them, he was a fossil in uniform. He sat on the edge of his bunk and stared at the wall. In his hand, he held a small metal tag engraved with Earth's flag. The last one. He whispered to himself, "I know what I saw." Outside, through the small window, Earth hung in the void like a dead eye. Commander Zarek Vox stood at the observation deck, staring down at Earth. From space it looked peaceful, a quiet ball of gray and blue wrapped in clouds, but he knew better. The planet was dead, burned, buried, forgotten. He remembered walking through the ruins just a day ago. Cracked buildings, rusted cars, silent streets. Nature had started to take back the land, but something else had been there too. That thing in the sky. A creature of light and fire. Zarek turned as the doors behind him opened. It was Lyra, a young alien technician from the research wing. Her skin was pale green. Her eyes bright and curious. She didn't laugh at him like the others. "I heard what you said in the chamber," she said quietly. "Then you heard them laugh too." She nodded. "They think human myths are just stories." Zarek crossed his arms. "Most myths are. But not all. Sometimes they're memories. Distorted but real." Lyra stepped closer. "Your recording it was unstable. But there were energy spikes. We can't explain. They match no known ship or life form." Zarek looked at her. "You believe me?" "I believe something happened." Before he could reply, the alarm lights above them blinked yellow. A soft hum filled the corridor. "Alert Patrol Unit 6. A has failed to report. Last contact, low Earth orbit. Investigation in progress." Zarek and Lyra exchanged a look. They were sent to scan for energy signals. She whispered. Zarek moved quickly. "Where's their last data transmission?" "In the command lab." "Follow me." They reached the lab in minutes. Screens lined the walls. A few officers were already there, trying to make sense of the broken feed. The last recording from the lost patrol played in loops, grainy and shaking, then cut to static. No impact. No distress signal. Just gone. This is the second time, Zarek said. First, the scout team goes missing. Now this. Captain Vetrax entered behind them, his expression hard. You again, he said, still trying to turn fear into fairy tales. Zarek faced him. Your patrol disappeared under the same sky I saw that creature. Are you going to keep laughing? Vetrax stepped forward. Don't twist every event into human legend. The patrol likely hit a solar flare or debris. We'll find the cause. Zarek stared him down. What if it finds us first? Silence filled the lab. Vetrax's jaw tightened. You're not in command anymore, human. Watch your place. He turned and left. Lyra touched Zarek's arm. He's afraid. Zarek nodded. Good, he should be. Back in his quarters that night, Zarek opened his old Earth data logs. One entry caught his eye. A file named Project Wyvern. He tapped it open. Blurry photos, energy charts, handwritten notes, entity made of plasma, dragon-shaped, appears during high-atmosphere energy surges. Not a myth. Zarek leaned forward. His hands shook. We knew, he whispered. We saw it, and we tried to forget. Outside, Earth remained silent, but something was stirring. The warship Blade of Truth hovered in still orbit above Earth, but the atmosphere inside the ship was shifting. Commander Zarek Vox walked into the research chamber with a purpose. In his hand was a data slate, showing the logs he had found. Project Wyvern. He had barely slept. The more he read, the clearer it became. Human scientists had seen the creature centuries ago. They recorded energy patterns and sketched its shape. But then the project was buried, labeled as myth, and erased from the public record. Lyra was already in the lab, studying sensor logs. I found more, Zarek said, handing her the slate. She read quickly, eyes wide. This matches the recent patrol data. The spikes, the light signatures. It's the same, Zarek said. We knew about this thing before Earth fell. Lyra frowned. Why didn't anyone act on it? Zarek sighed. Maybe they did, and maybe it went wrong. A sudden sound came from the terminal. A new signal. A third patrol ship sent to investigate the last disappearance had gone silent. Zarek's jaw clenched. 3 teams all gone, he said. Lyra checked the log. Same location, near the old city you visited. Whatever this thing is, it's staying in that zone. Zarek leaned closer. It's not random, it's guarding something. An alarm flashed red. Emergency protocol. All officers were summoned to the war room. When Zarek and Lyra entered, the room was tense. Vetrax stood in the center, arms crossed, speaking to the gathered command staff. We lost contact with Patrol Unit 9B. That makes 3 recon losses in 48 hours. There is now a temporary no-fly zone over the region. He paused, then looked at Zarek. Some of you believe this is the result of hostile forces or mythical creatures. Let me be clear, there is no evidence of such things. Zarek stepped forward. There is evidence, he said. You're just ignoring it. The energy readings, the disappearances, the visual data from my mission. Everything matches Project Wyvern. Your own sensors confirm it. Vetrax's eyes burned with anger. You are not authorized to speak on classified human files. Zarek didn't move. You have a problem you can't explain, and I'm the only one here who understands it. The room was silent. One Zernak general turned to Vetrax. What is Project Wyvern? Vetrax hesitated. An abandoned Earth experiment. It's irrelevant. No, Lyra said. It's not. I've seen the logs too. It predicted a plasma-based life form, one that interacts with memory and fear. It might not be physical like us, but it's real. Murmurs filled the room. Another officer said, if it's real, why is it still on Earth? Zarek answered, maybe it's trapped, or maybe it's guarding something, or maybe it remembers us. Vetrax slammed a hand on the table. Enough. We will not chase ghosts. He turned to Zarek. You are relieved of access to command systems until further notice. Zarek's fists tightened. Then keep losing patrols. But I'm not staying silent. He turned and left the room. Lyra followed. Back in a quiet hallway, she looked up at him. They won't listen. They will, Zarek said, when they have no choice. That night, Lyra accessed the Dominion archives. She searched deep, using Zarek's Earth codes. What she found made her breath catch. A long-lost transmission from Earth's final days. Static-filled. Broken. But one word came through clearly. Wyvern. Then a scream. She sent the file to Zarek. He stared at the screen, jaw tight. We didn't die from war, he said softly. We woke something up. Outside, in the quiet orbit above Earth, a new signal pulsed in the dark. Unreadable. Repeating. Calling. Commander Zarek Vox stood in the strategy room, his eyes locked on the newest satellite image of Earth. A bright energy flare shimmered over the same ruined city where he had seen the creature. The pattern was growing. Larger, more frequent, and it wasn't natural. Lyra stood beside him, reading through data on her tablet. The signal's changing, she said. It's stronger now. It's almost like it's pulsing. Zarek nodded. Like it's breathing. He stepped forward to the central console. With a few taps, he submitted a new mission request to return to the surface and investigate. He had a plan this time. A small, fast team with drones and live sensors. Within minutes, the request was denied. Captain Vetrax entered the room a moment later. I told you already, Vetrax said. Voice cold. You're not authorized to lead any more ground missions. This is over, Commander. Zarek turned to face him. You're losing people. Something is clearly down there. This is not random. Vetrax narrowed his eyes. We do not act based on ancient bedtime stories. You are human. You want to believe your world meant more than it did. Zarek kept his voice calm. I don't want to believe anything. I want to know the truth. Vetrax stepped closer, voice low. Your emotions make you weak. Zarek didn't flinch. And your pride makes you blind. The two stared at each other. A long, tense silence. Then Vetrax snapped. You're confined to your quarters until further notice. He left without another word. Zarek returned to his room, frustrated but not defeated. Lyra came to see him a few hours later, holding a small data chip. You were right, she said. I went deeper into the archives. Look at this. She plugged the chip into Zarek's console. An old Dominion file appeared. It was marked POV Secret. For Science Council only. The report described early contact with a plasma entity during humanity's final century. It had appeared during high-energy events, always near large cities. The report called it Wyvern-class anomaly, highly unstable, possibly sentient. They knew, Zarek whispered. The Dominion knew about it after Earth fell. Lyra nodded. And they buried it. Why? Because they were afraid. Suddenly, the ship rocked. Alarms blared. Red lights flashed overhead. A voice came over the comms. Unidentified energy surge in Sector 5. All personnel to battle stations. Zarek and Lyra rushed to the main deck. On the viewing screen, a strange glowing trail moved across Earth's surface. Not a storm. Not a machine. The shape was familiar. Long, serpentine. Wings made of light. Vetrax was already there, barking orders. Activate long-range scanners. Lock onto the energy source. One of the technicians turned, pale. It's not locking, sir. It's phasing. In and out. Like it's not fully here. Zarek stepped up beside Vetrax. You're seeing it now, he said. It's real. Vetrax didn't answer. Another officer said, we need to send a team. Zarek looked at Vetrax. Let me go. You've seen what happens when others try. Vetrax hesitated. For the first time, he looked unsure. Fine, he said. One last recon. You lead it. I'm coming with you. Zarek raised an eyebrow. You? Vetrax nodded. If this thing is real, I want to see it with my own eyes. Zarek didn't argue. An hour later the mission team was ready. Zarek, Vetrax, Lyra, and 2 alien soldiers boarded the dropship. The door sealed shut. Through the front window, Earth grew larger. Back to where it began, Zarek said softly. Below, the city ruins waited, and something moved in the shadows. The dropship sliced through Earth's dead sky like a silent blade. Gray clouds churned above the ruined city below. Buildings stood like broken teeth, crumbled, blackened, lifeless. Fires no longer burned here. The world had gone cold a long time ago. Inside the ship, Commander Zarek Vox sat strapped into his seat, eyes locked on the screen. Captain Vetrax stood beside him, silent for once. Lyra monitored energy readings from her console. "We're near the old human capital," Zarek said. "This is where I first saw it." The ship landed with a soft hiss. Dust clouds rose around them. The team stepped out into silence. The city felt haunted. Wind whistled through shattered windows and over crushed vehicles. Nature had begun to reclaim the bones of mankind, but something else had returned too. Zarek led the way down a crumbling road. They moved carefully, past rusted signs, collapsed towers, and cracked pavement. Lyra held a small scanning device. It beeped softly, then faster. "Something's here," she said. "Energy signature is rising, underneath us." Zarek turned toward a ruined government building. There was a secure facility beneath this place. It was sealed before Earth fell. "That's where the signals are coming from." They found a half-buried stairwell behind a collapsed wall. Vetrax pushed aside rubble with surprising strength, and they descended into the dark. Lights flickered as they entered the forgotten lab. Dust hung in the air like fog. Old computers lined the walls, long dead. But deeper inside, one door still glowed faintly with backup power. Zarek stepped forward and placed his hand on the panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a chamber unlike any other, walls made of reinforced metal, lined with strange human equipment. In the center floated a glowing sphere, cracked and pulsing. Then the temperature dropped. A low hum filled the room. The light dimmed, and the creature appeared. It came from the shadows, first as sparks, then as a shape, long, sleek, coiled in glowing light. Wings spread wide, tail flowing like smoke. A head formed, sharp and ancient, 2 burning eyes locked on Zarek. The team froze. Vetrax stepped back, stunned. "What is that?" Zarek whispered. "Wyvern." The creature hovered above the chamber floor, silent and still. Then suddenly, it surged forward, not to attack, to remember. Images flashed through Zarek's mind. Cities on fire, scientists running, a glowing chamber like this one, and the creature inside it, not born from nature, but from man. An experiment. A mistake. The wyvern had escaped, and it remembered everything. Zarek staggered back. "It's made of energy and memory. We tried to control it, but it became something more." Lyra cried out. "The readings are spiking." The walls shook. The creature roared, not in anger, but in pain. It twisted through the air, energy flaring wildly. The sphere in the center cracked wider. Zarek yelled, "We have to leave, now." The team ran as the chamber began to collapse. Lights exploded, metal tore from the walls. The creature's cry echoed through the ruins, a deep, ancient sound of sorrow and rage. Vetrax was thrown against the wall. Debris fell near him. Zarek turned back, grabbed Vetrax by the arm, and pulled him to his feet. Together they climbed the stairs as the ground split behind them. They burst into the open just as the building crumbled behind them. A pulse of white light shot into the sky. The dropship was waiting. They scrambled aboard, panting, silent, covered in dust. As they rose into the air, Zarek looked down at the city, now glowing faintly, alive with energy once again. No one spoke. Everyone had seen it. Everyone had felt it. Something ancient, powerful, and angry still lived in Earth's ruins. The dropship sped upward, cutting through the atmosphere like a needle through cloth. Inside, the crew sat in silence. No one spoke, not even Vetrax. Commander Zarek Vox sat at the front, eyes fixed on the screen. The earth below glowed faintly where the creature had emerged. A pulse of light still throbbed from the ruins, reaching into the sky like a signal. What was that thing? One of the alien soldiers asked quietly. Zarek answered without turning. It was a memory, a weapon, a life form we tried to control, and failed. Lyra stared at her monitor. It responded to Zarek. It didn't attack him. It showed him the past. Vetrax leaned forward, breathing heavily. We created it. Zarek turned. My people did. Near the end, they were desperate. They wanted power. They found a way to bind energy to memory, but it became unstable, alive. It escaped, and then everything fell apart. Vetrax looked shaken. Why didn't the Dominion know? Zarek's eyes narrowed. Maybe they did. Maybe they chose to forget. The ship approached the Blade of Truth. A docking crew was already waiting. As the team stepped out, medical staff rushed forward. Vetrax waved them off. I'm fine, he said, though he limped slightly. They were led straight to the main briefing chamber. High commanders from several alien races were already gathered. Zarek stood at the center. A large screen behind him showed the wyvern shape captured by drone footage, shifting, glowing. Gasps filled the room. Zarek raised his voice. You all laughed. You thought human myths were foolish. But this creature isn't a myth. It's a part of our history. And now, yours. He pointed to the footage. This is what we left behind, not fantasy. A warning. The room was quiet. Even the proud Zaranok officers didn't interrupt. Lyra stepped beside him. This entity isn't just a creature. It holds memories of Earth, of destruction, of pain. It's intelligent, and it's still watching. A synth commander spoke. Can it be destroyed? Zarek shook his head. I don't think so, and I'm not sure we should try. Vetrax stepped forward. He's right. I saw it too. It spared us. But next time it might not. Another officer asked, what does it want? Zarek paused, then said, to be remembered, to not be buried again, and maybe, to protect what's left of Earth. The council began to murmur among themselves. Decisions had to be made. Studies, warnings, boundaries. Zarek and Lyra left the chamber. In the hallway, Vetrax caught up with them. He looked at Zarek for a long moment, then said, I was wrong. About you. About your people. Zarek nodded once. Now you know. Vetrax extended a hand. Zarek took it. No more mockery. No more doubt. Later, alone in his quarters, Zarek watched the video again. The wyvern moved through the sky, wings made of light, eyes full of something old and powerful. Lyra's voice came through the comm. The council is assigning you to Earth monitoring. Zarek smiled faintly. Good. It's time someone started listening to the ghosts. Outside, Earth turned slowly, quiet, scarred, but alive. Weeks passed. The Dominion no longer laughed at human myths. Surveillance satellites were placed in orbit around Earth. Patrol ships flew cautiously near the planet, but never too close to the old city where the wyvern had appeared. It had not been seen again since that day, but its presence was still felt. Commander Zarek Vox had been assigned a new role, Guardian of Earth's Legacy. He spent his days reviewing old human data, working with scientists, and studying ancient files that had been buried for centuries. Myths, legends, and forgotten projects were now seen in a new light. What once was laughed at was now studied carefully. In the central research dome aboard the Blade of Truth, Lyra joined Zarek as he watched a newly restored human video. It showed a room full of scientists. One of them spoke into the camera. We thought we could give memory shape, that we could create life from energy, but it remembers pain. It remembers fear. It remembers us. If you find this, don't disturb it again. Lyra turned to Zarek. The wyvern wasn't just made. It was born from fear. Zarek nodded. And from hope. My people were desperate. They wanted to protect Earth. They just went too far. Lyra looked out the window. Do you think it's still watching? Zarek's voice was quiet. Yes, and I think it always will be. That evening, Zarek stood alone at the observation deck. Earth rotated slowly below. Gray clouds, broken cities, and faint pulses of light from the surface. He held a small object in his hand. It was the metal tag with Earth's flag on it, the last one of its kind. Behind him the doors opened. Vetrax entered, slower now, his injuries still healing. "No more laughter," he said simply. Zarek nodded. "Only respect." Vetrax walked up beside him. "You've earned that." Together they looked down at the planet. It was quiet, but it was not empty. "I used to think my people were gone forever," Zarek said. "But the Wyvern is still here. It's part of us. It remembers what we were." Vetrax asked, "What happens now?" Zarek's voice was calm. "We remember too." He tapped the glass gently. "Dragons," he whispered. "They thought we made them up. But dragons remember." The lights in the observation deck dimmed. The stars shone bright outside, and far below in the ruins of a lost world, a single pulse of light flared once more, brief, soft, like a heartbeat.